Tonight on Life and Times. An Indian tribe wants to build a lavish casino in the shadow of Disneyland. Should Garden Grove take the gamble?
Well, I think it's never land right now. I mean, basically, these gentlemen are making a proposal, and we'll see where all that goes.
There is a demand for a casino. Somebody in Orange County is going to get it, and there's no reason why we shouldn't reap the benefits.
And then, should this be a wake-up call to California? How deferred maintenance could exact a high cost. It's all straight ahead on tonight's Life and Times.
Life and Times is made possible through the generous support of the L.K. Whittier Foundation, dedicated to improving the quality of life by supporting innovative endeavors in the fields of medicine, health, science, and education. And by a generous grant from Jim and Ann Rothenberg.
Is it a brilliant idea or a far-fetched fantasy? An Indian tribe wants to build a lavish Las Vegas-style casino and resort in Garden Grove, not far from Disneyland. The idea is to lure some of those Disney patrons to spend money on slots and blackjack. But is this grounded in reality, or are they just blinded by dollar signs? Orange County reporter Roger Cooper has our story.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream. That's it, right here. Disneyland.
Ever since Walt Disney stepped off the site for Disneyland just over 50 years ago, Garden Grove has lived in the shadow of the Anaheim amusement park. Anaheim has been the tourist destination. Garden Grove has been the place some of those visitors found hotel rooms. Its major claim to fame has been as home to the Crystal Cathedral. But if an Indian tribe has its way, all that could change.
I think the notion of a casino is very intriguing for a couple of reasons.
The idea of a casino is coming from some members of the Gabrielino Tongva Indian tribe. They are trying to convince Garden Grove officials to take land at this shopping center on Harbor and turn it into a giant casino, hotel, and resort complex that would rival anything in Las Vegas. Attorney Jonathan Stein is the tribe CEO.
Well, it would be a major complex on 40 acres. It would have two casinos in it. You know, nowadays everybody likes brands, so imagine a Bellagio and a Paris, or a Caesars and a New York, New York. You'd have one at the higher end and one more towards the middle, but both very nice places.
In return for the right to build a resort, the Gabrielino tribe would put a whopping $70 million a year into Garden Grove's coffers and add 10,000 new jobs to the city's economy. And on top of all that, the Gabrielino tribe says it would give every high school student who graduates in Garden Grove a full college scholarship.
Certainly the revenue projections are very enticing, and it would certainly go a long way to address many issues in the city.
City Manager Matthew Fortal believes the tribe's resort casino proposal should be seriously considered as a way for Garden Grove to tap into the crowds headed to Disneyland.
I think they're a complement to each other. It gives the visitor some choices. It gives them an opportunity to do events with the family, and it also gives a little bit more adult-oriented entertainment and opportunities.
But not everyone in city government thinks this casino is a sure bet.
Well, I think it's never land right now. I mean, basically.
Have you ever heard the pie in the sky? I think it's pie in the sky. The projections that he has.
Some city council members, including Bruce Broadwater, think the tribe's financial projections are grossly overstated.
They don't even touch the realm of reality. I mean, I don't see that. I mean, every kid in Garden Grove having a scholarship. I mean, that's billions. That's not millions. One casino's going to do that? I'm dubious.
But tribal attorney Stein says, if anything, his revenue projections are too conservative.
They're not only solid, they're actually too small.
And former council member Harry Krebs says even if their projections do prove to be too high, the city would still make a lot of money.
It doesn't really matter. You know, if it's 1/3 of it, it looks very good.
City Manager Fortal agrees.
Whether it's $70 million that has been proposed or $20 million, it's a significant amount of revenue.
But financial projections may be the least of the hurdles this tribe must overcome. Linda Candelaria is a tribal councilwoman.
The Gabrielino Tongva have been in the LA Basin for over 2,500 years. We were in the area from Malibu all the way down to Laguna, from Catalina to San Bernardino.
Although the Gabrielino used to range over LA and northern Orange County, today they are a tribe with no land.
The tribe, number one, doesn't own any land. Number two, doesn't have any money. Number three, isn't even recognized by the federal government.
It's certainly a challenge because legally they are not eligible and qualified to do gaming. So they have their work cut out for them.
But Tribal Attorney Stein insists these are hurdles that can be overcome by passing a bill in Sacramento.
This legislation would create a state Indian reservation, and that would be the tribal lands. And then the compact from the governor, that would be the right to conduct gaming there.
And add to all this the possibility that Disney and Anaheim could object to the casino.
Disneyland, from what I'm hearing, is opposed to this. Now, who's got more swat with the state, Disneyland or the city of Garden Grove? The city of Garden Grove had to sue the Orange County Transit Authority to get the 22 freeway wide. Disneyland has their own off-ramp. I mean, you know, so...
Still, tribal members are taking the first steps. They are already meeting with Orange County officials and getting to know community leaders.
Oh, we are very excited about the project. It's going to mean a lot to our tribe. Our elders will have the best of health care. Some of our tribal members don't own homes. They'll be able to buy a piece of land that was once theirs.
But besides the external challenges of the casino idea, there's an internal challenge that could doom the project. Some members of the Gabrielino tribe are refusing to recognize Stein and the pro-casino group as true leaders of the tribe.
Well, there's actually not one split within the tribe. There's actually five. There are 5 different groups. This group is the largest with 85% of the members.
I don't see this happening. I really don't. And it's fun to watch.
But Mayor Pro Tem Mark Rosen thinks the idea has merit.
You know, when people can drive to Palm Springs or Morongo Valley to gamble, it makes no sense for it to be legitimate out there and not legitimate in Orange County. I think there is a demand for a casino. Somebody in Orange County is going to get it, and there's no reason why we shouldn't reap the benefits.
I'd say the odds right now are about 50-50, and most people will disagree with that. But then again, I think that if you looked at 6 years ago what the odds were when I started, they've improved a great deal since then, and all the people that said that this couldn't be are actually using the word inevitable now.
So where does all this stand? Rosen says eventually, assuming the proposal clears the numerous hurdles, the idea should be put to the voters of Garden Grove. But if the lavish casino resort should become a reality, Garden Grove would finally emerge from the shadows of the happiest place on earth to claim its own reputation for fun. Do you think the day will come when we'll say what happens in Garden Grove stays in Garden Grove?
You know, as long as they say what happens in Garden Grove stays in Garden Grove, I'll be happy.
No, I don't think so. I think whatever happens in Garden Grove is something we would want to share with everyone.
In Garden Grove, I'm Roger Cooper for Life and Times.
So what do you think? We'd love to know your response to that story, and you can post it on our blog. Just go to kct.org and click on the Life and Times blog. The sudden collapse of the bridge in Minneapolis is a stark reminder of the price we pay for deferred maintenance. California has hundreds of bridges that should be reinforced, but even more perilous than bridges is the fragile network of levees in the Central Valley. Reporter Craig Miller takes a look at what's at stake when experts are ignored.
On a parched day in late summer, it's easy to forget that this is a floodplain. But every 10 years or so, severe winter storms cause the river to crest over or even break through the levees, turning portions of Sacramento into an inland sea. The last big one was in 1997, and by the time the waters receded, there were 8 deaths, $2 billion in damage, and 30,000 homes ruined. But memories are short. After a few years and a state budget crisis, levee protection became a footnote in California's budget. Meanwhile, the levees got thinner, and the price tag for fixing them got fatter.
The overall problem up and down the Central Valley is somewhere on the order of about a $12 billion deficiency. And that's because we as a society, at all levels of government and individual, we have neglected this system, and we have a lot to make up for.
In fact, it took a national catastrophe to trigger an action plan in California. 5 months after the Katrina disaster on the Gulf Coast, Governor Schwarzenegger declared a state of emergency for the levee system, and an unprecedented repair program was put in motion. 29 levee sites were targeted as being in critical condition. Huge cranes and construction gear were dispatched to fix them before it was too late. It's a laborious process. Barges bring tons of dirt and rocks to each site, and the levees are built back up, one bucketful at a time. But the more the experts worked on repairing the levees, the more alarmed they became.
We found that the flood risk was actually higher than previously thought. So it's not just with bigger storms that you can find out the risk is greater. As you get more information on a particular levee, if you gather the soil samples, you may find out this levee is actually in worse shape than we found. That's something, it's tough for communities to hear that, but they need to know these are dynamic river systems. It's not a static point in time where things don't change. Things change a lot.
And across the state, more and more precarious levee sites are being discovered every day. That original number of 29 crisis spots is now up to 110 and rising. Even if you live hundreds of miles from California's river country, this is your problem too, and not just because taxpayers will foot the bill.
We're not just talking about flooded homes and farms in the Central Valley here. This enormous structure I'm standing on is the water intake for the city of Sacramento. Below me, the Sacramento River. What most people don't realize is that this same river system supplies the drinking water for 2/3 of California's population. So a major disruption in the levee system, even up here, could mean turning off taps all the way down to San Diego.
It's called the Big Gulp, a nightmare scenario in which multiple levee breaks allow salt water to rush into the river system, forcing immediate shutdown of many of the state's water pumping plants. And it's not a far-fetched possibility, say the experts.
23 million people will drink that water that's coming down this river, entering into the delta, and a series of canals and pumps, and is spread all over California. That infrastructure, which is some of the most complex in the world, is basically at risk from this network of levees that we have, because it's held together in a very fragile way as if sort of weak, tired old plumbing system.
This particular levee right near downtown Sacramento has been identified as critically in need of repair. During the winter, when the river runs higher and faster, it's just carved enormous chunks out of the bank. This fabric is a remnant of a prior attempt to repair the levee, which did not hold up. And wait till you see what's on the other side of this.
It's a building boom of new housing developments, thousands of homes springing up behind often questionable levees. But for most home buyers, proximity to the river is not a deterrent. It's a selling point. The river's a magnet, right?
The river is definitely a drawing point. People belong to the yacht club. They're aware of the restaurants and the activities, and you're not that far from getting to the river. In fact, you can actually walk, if you want to, along some of the levees from here.
Vonda Walker moved in behind the West Sacramento levees 3 years ago. But since Katrina hit, she's been rethinking her decision.
I can't help, New Orleans, there it is,
My yard shirt.
You've got the levee over here and New Orleans on your shirt, and you've got family in New Orleans.